Shohei Ohtani is the most sought-after player that I can remember in my lifetime, maybe the most sought-after free agent in the history of baseball, and the Cubs are right there in the mix, according to a lot of reports. I want to talk about what Ohtani brings to the table if the Cubs get him. That's what we're going to talk about on this show. Welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. You're the most sought-after free agent for us. This channel's growing, and we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for being a part of it. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe right now. It's free. Hit the bell so you know when we're dropping new shows. Give us a thumbs up if you like Cubs content. Let's get this thing started. I'm Mick Gillespie. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. And, one of the reasons I started this channel was to be able to talk unfiltered about my opinions on things. And I've spent, my life around baseball and 20 years around the Cubs. And Shohei Ohtani and this Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes features 4 or 5 different teams, according to what report you look at, right? I think it's a 2-horse race between the LA Dodgers and the Cubs. Dodgers still the betting favorite. I think it would be an easy move for Ohtani to go from the Angels right over to the Dodgers. The Dodgers have the money. They've got the big TV contract. He's already in LA. It's a shorter flight to Japan, down the line. And I feel like the Dodgers have kind of set themselves up for this with the moves that they've made to try to release some of the payroll over the last couple of years, right? Including Cody Bellinger, which turned out to be a great deal for the Cubs. The San Francisco Giants are reportedly one of the teams in the mix, whether you want to think that or not. I've heard them also in for Cody Bellinger. You got the Toronto Blue Jays, which to me, I just can't really seem to believe that. But you know what? Money talks and bullshit walks. At least my dad used to say that all the time. So maybe they're in this too, and they're just willing to divvy up the money. They have a good young team, but we'll find out. And then the other team is the Angels, which if I'm Ohtani, after spending how many seasons there and losing every year, they don't have an infrastructure. Their minor leagues stink. They're so far away from winning. And it didn't help that the deadline last year that they made some of the worst trades that you're ever going to see. And so we'll find out, who it is. But to me, it's between the Cubs and the Dodgers. Now, why does spending, between $500 and $600 million make sense to the Cubs? Because a lot of you guys in the, in the messages, the comments have said, well, think about all the other players we can buy with that much money, if they were willing to spend that much money on other players. And then, look at last year, went out and spent a bunch of money, worked obviously with Bellinger. I feel like Dansby Swanson is solid at shortstop, good leader, changed kind of the presence in the clubhouse. He was a good signing. Some of the other ones have been questioned, but what would Shohei Ohtani bring to the Cubs? Well, I think first thing is Marquee Sports Network. Cubs got into and I've talked about this before, they got into the TV game late. The Dodgers, they had all their rights. They packaged them up. They have this enormous deal, and it pays for a lot of the players. Cubs started a network, and it really has underperformed. And I think a lot of people feel like that, and for many different reasons. But when you look at it, what are the reasons why it's underperformed? One of the theories is maybe because the Cubs don't have a marquee face. Who's the last real marquee Cub that you can remember? Sammy Sosa, probably, right? I mean, even the guys that won the 2016 World Series, they were beloved Cubs, but they didn't transcend the game like Sosa. I mean, you couldn't watch TV without seeing Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire hit home runs every day, right? So to me, it feels like, first off, forget about everything on the field. It helps you kind of maybe get people more motivated to watch your your TV network and maybe subscribe to it. There's other options that you can get, that go directly to the consumer, which, let's be honest, I mean, having a linear TV network is out of date now. Think about what it's going to be like in 10 years. I mean, you're looking at the future right here digitally on demand. You don't want to sit around and watch TV waiting on a show. You want to watch it when you want to watch it, And so the Dodgers kind of caught the trend at the beginning. And the Cubs are trying to figure it out. Plus, the other part of it, too, is besides the live play-by-play, what else are you watching for? Well, maybe if you get Shohei Ohtani, it gives you some content that people would be interested in other than the live play-by-play. But the live play-by-play is always going to be your bread and butter. So I feel like that's one reason. And I think if it continues to kind of trend the way that it's trending and you're the Cubs, you got to figure out, what you're doing and question the leadership, that's behind the TV network. Maybe you get Ohtani and it kind of masks some of that stuff. That's the first thing. The second thing is, would it increase ticket sales? And I saw an article the other day. We're talking about this. A lot of you guys have mentioned this. Read a lot of stories. The Cubs have had a waiting list to get into Wrigley forever. No waiting list anymore. And why is that? And this was one of the things that I really questioned when the Cubs were getting rid of all of their guys at the deadline in 2021. Wouldn't you have kept one guy of the maybe Rizzo, probably been the guy for me. But, maybe you keep Brian or you keep Javi, just keep one guy, forget about the performance, just to have that marketing force, that person that you look to and go, you know what, this was one of the star players on the World Series team, like Baltimore with Cal Ripken Jr. I mean, there were years where Cal Ripken was above average player, but wasn't an all-star. Maybe he was all-star, but not all-star ability, just all-star within the fans' view, right? And baseball's always been built on players that kind of represent a franchise. I mean, think about the Cubs, like Ron Santo and Ernie Banks. And, and you look at those guys, Ryan Sandberg, why do Cubs fans feel, or baseball fans in general, feel beholden to a team? It's because maybe they have a great experience watching games with their family. I mean, how many of us watched Harry Carey and Steve Stone on television, which was such a different broadcast than we have now, not just with the Cubs, but in the game in general. But it just felt like you're sitting there with, your uncle at a bar and he's talking about the game and he's making you laugh and being honest. But also the players, say, hey, you know what? I watched Andre Dawson win the MVP in 87, or I watched Rhino get traded from the Phillies and then work his way up. You become kind of, you attach yourself to a player. The Cubs don't have that. And just because they made all of these trades. So going back to what Ohtani brings to the table is the minute that you sign this guy, now you have a feature player that a lot of people are going to want to see. And I know Cubs fans and the Cubs fan base, which I'm a part of, is enormous. I mean, everywhere you go, there's Cubs fans and they're looking and they're saying, I want, when they're on the road, it's like a home game. And they go to Milwaukee, it's like a home game. But they go out to California and it's like a home game. I mean, Cubs fans are everywhere because of WGN, watching the team growing up back when TV was free, and then falling in love with guys like Ryan Sandberg and Jody Davis and Rick Sutcliffe and Greg Maddux, all of those guys, right? And then that led into Mark Grace, and then that led into Sammy Sosa, and then that led into the 2016 team that won the World Series, and those guys. So Shohei Ohtani brings kind of that group back in because you're obviously going to love to have the best player in baseball. But the business part of this is his brand globally. And I've tried to figure out, if you sign someone, right, for $500 or $600 million, which is a big risk because these are guaranteed contracts, what do you have to make back to even get even, let alone, make more money than that? So if you go and pay that money for someone, you've got to make over that to make it an investment. Like paying someone and then not making the money back is a bad investment. And I think that's a point a lot of you guys have made in the comment section. And you're right. What would you have to make over that to make it worth whatever, right? So if you pay $600 million, then you might need to make $1 billion to make it worth that. And is that even a possibility? Well, I don't know. But what I will tell you is that looking at what the Angels had with Ohtani, first off, they had the Japanese market. They put all the games that the Angels play on TV in Japan. So you got that enormous baseball market over there. And those guys love baseball. And then you have their advertisers that want to spend money on Ohtani. Not even that, go back to Marquee, hey, you have trouble, convincing sponsors to pay for this. Well, now you got Ohtani to the table. Hey, you go into a sales meeting and here's your Ohtani signed baseball. We're going to have him on TV. Everyone's talking about it. Yeah, we got Craig Counsell. I mean, it just gives you momentum. You're on corporate sales for the Cubs, and then you go in and like, hey, we're here to win this thing. We're going to do it again, and we're going to have 7 million at our parade. Yeah, Ohtani kind of sets the tone on that. Season tickets. Will it help season tickets? They said that, I think it was Jeff Passan I saw wrote a story. He's like, well, when he pitched, it really wasn't that much of an increase for the Angels. Didn't really change their attendance. But that's the Angels. This is the Cubs. Like, it is going to change attendance. Cubs fans are going to know when Ohtani's pitching. You're talking about two totally different fan bases. We're obsessed with the Cubs. We know everything about the team. The Angels fans are kind of really Dodgers fans that are, can't get tickets to the Dodgers games or something. I mean, like, it's just a totally different thing. Like, I think it increases demand again for your season tickets. The marketing part of it's huge. Can they get to $600 million or wherever that contract's going to fall to make the money back? I think a lot of that depends on how Ohtani performs. Is he going to be able to hit at Wrigley? Is he going to be able to pitch again next year? Well, I think the answer is going to be yes, but that's the risk that you take if you're the Cubs. And I think that's what it comes down to. So I really feel like those are the reasons why the Cubs are so vested in this, because he may be the thing that turns the value of their TV network around, makes that property, instead of kind of trending this way, trend this way, helps with season tickets, built-in, worldwide recognition. Cubs already have that, but you add that brand with his brand, and all of a sudden, the collision of those two could be enormous. Now, what about the winning part of it? And will the Cubs be strapped like we saw the Angels, where they had two great players, the two best players in baseball, and then an organization of absolutely nothing outside of that? And you could almost get the feeling that Joe Madden realized that when he got the job. It's like, hey, I got two great players and then nothing else, right? Well, the situation that the Cubs are in today, the answer to that is no. They have a stacked farm system. But how are they going to use those chips? And I've said it on here. I think the trades they made at the deadline were bad trades. But those are the kind of trades that you had to make in the market because of where the market was. It was definitely a seller's market, right? Not a buyer's market. So you're buying, and you had to give up a lot to get a little back. And I think ultimately it cost David Ross's job, because somebody was going to have to be accountable. As you look back, when these guys when you see Nelson Velasquez hit 40 home runs in a season, which could very well happen, and you traded him for a middle reliever, you're going to say, hey, why did we do this? Well, you know what? We had a good team. We thought we could make the playoffs. Look at what the Diamondbacks did. Came up 2 games short, and then we went out and got Craig Counsell. Now we got Shohei Ohtani or whoever else. So anyway, that's where we are right now. Guys, get in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Hope I didn't ramble on too much, but that's how I feel about this. I think that this is such a risk business-wise, but it's a calculated risk. And we haven't seen a player of this magnitude come through the game since Babe Ruth. And I'm telling that's very, very high praise. And Ohtani does stuff that the Bambino didn't even do. All right. I'm going to be at winter meetings next week. Make sure that you stick with the channel. I'll be coming up with reports there about what's going on. I think that this Ohtani thing could be done sometime next week in Nashville. We'll find out. Channel right now is brought to you by the Tennessee Smokies. Look, I got my Smokies gear on right here. And you can go check it out as well, smokiesbaseball.com/store. Go in there and take advantage of all the great gear that they have. They won their first championship in 45 years. They have the gear to prove it, but they have other stuff too. Find out for yourself. And thanks for hanging out with us. We'll talk to you again soon.